Hello and Happy New Year. This is State Senator Rob Martwick, and I'm coming to you from my office here in uh, the northwest side of the city of Chicago. I'm about a half a block from Super. Stop by for a hot dog and a milkshake and pop in and see us sometime. Um, so I'm doing this video because I wanted to wish you all a very healthy and happy New Year. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday season. And it's January, and January is the beginning of a new year, and there's a lot to look forward to. And so I'm starting up my video series. You can find a lot of my videos here. Many of them were done when I was a state representative. You can find them on my Facebook page. We post them to YouTube, and they're meant to be informative to try and fill in what's going on in Illinois and in your state capital. Obviously, the news sources always don't find it fit to cover what's going on down there, but a lot goes on, and so I wanted to start out on today. A piece of legislation. We we put an enactment date on it. Sometimes uh, uh, it becomes a law immediately, as an immediate effective date, but more often than not, after the governor signs it in January 1st of that year is when it goes into effect. And so there were a lot of things that were done in Springfield. So today is sort of a look forward as to what new laws you'll be experiencing here in Illinois, and sort of a look back at because all of these were accomplished during the 2019 calendar year. Coming up, we'll be doing more videos on what's going to be coming up in this legislative year. Again, legislation that we hope to pass, laws that we hope to pass, that we hope will become effective in 2021. So let's start out. Again, this is sort of a look forward at the laws that you're going to see in 2020, as well as a recap of 2019. So let me start out with this. Before we even get into the list, what a year a governor makes. What a difference, right? Um, in 1 year, we went from Bruce Rauner to J.B. Pritzker in terms of our governors, and we went from 4 years of complete gridlock, stalemate, debts accumulating, government grinding to a halt, kids not being able to return to college, senior citizens and people with disabilities not being able to get critical services, to J.B. Pritzker. And under that Pritzker administration, in the very first year, we had what was nothing less than a historic year. And so it'll be pretty easy to get through this top 10. And you'll see I even have some additions to it. So top 20, as it were, because there were so many good things that got passed. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the legislation we passed. So um, here is our 2020 top 10 new laws. Number 10, uh, equal pay. So this was an initiative designed to a new law that's designed to uh, try to correct the disparity between pay, right? So pretty much everyone knows out there that if you take a group of men working in one type of job and a group of women, the men are typically paid higher. And so the Equal Pay Initiative was meant to try and even that out by it prohibits employers from asking salary history during an interview. Hire the person for what they're worth, not what you think you can get away with paying them. And the idea is that that will create equity in pay. A very important initiative. What this does is this moves the legal age for purchasing tobacco to 21. Obviously, the most formative and addictive years for tobacco use are people who start smoking before their 21st birthday. 18 to 21 is where everyone gets hooked. This aims to move that up a little bit, help break that cycle of addiction with tobacco products, improve our overall health as a state, give kids a chance to not get addicted. Great initiative. All right. Moving right along. Number 8, expansion and a Chicago casino. Finally. Um, so, you know, again, some people don't always agree that gaming is the best way to go about getting things done or raising revenues, but the bottom line is it's already pervasive in our society. You can play bingo at a church bingo. You can go to the 7-Eleven or your convenience store, your gas station, and buy all the lotto tickets you want, scratch them off, turn them into the corner. So we've got little mini casinos everywhere. And what gaming expansion allows us to do is add some more casinos and create a truly competitive market. And finally, Chicago will be getting a piece of that action, which again will help raise revenue where you're going to get it from and help solve some of our financial problems. And moving right along, number 7, downstate pension consolidation. So this was something that was done really just recently. We came back and took care of this during the veto session in the fall, but it was part of that. What this is going to do is it's going to transition 650 different small pension funds. Every town in the state of Illinois that has a police fund, excuse me, has a police department and a fire department, has a police and fire pension fund if they have more than 5,000 inhabitants or residents in their town. So 650 police and fire pension systems, they're all tiny. The governor came up with an initiative where we consolidated all of the police funds into one fund and all of the fire funds into another fund. This is going to allow us to save money on administrative costs and have the added benefit of being able to capitalize on the returns on the investments. So better returns for the employees. It will save the taxpayers money. It's really a great initiative. Number 6, and it went into law yesterday, a lot of news on it today, recreational cannabis. So yes, we passed legalized cannabis. This is something that I believe there is in one form or another in 17 other states. The entire country of Canada has legal recreational cannabis. So it allows Illinois to get in on the front edge instead of always at the end like we usually do. Again, you can argue about the merits of this, but what we did do was we passed a set of laws that no other state and no other jurisdiction has done, and that was from the point of social justice reform. In other words, righting the wrongs that were created when a lot of people were given a criminal record for low-level cannabis possession. We're going to get rid of all of that, and we're going to be able to regulate it, tax it, and so we're doing some really good things. So that's legalized cannabis, and stop spending the money that we've spent on just a wrong-headed war on this drug. All right, number 5, the Reproductive Health Act. This is wonderful with a tax all over the country on women's access to reproductive health care, where there are states that are passing laws that not only criminalize abortion services, but make it a criminal act for a woman to get one, make it a criminal act for a doctor to perform one. What we said was in Illinois, if things change, and given the tenor of our courts, the very conservative nature of our courts, and the fact that Donald Trump has been appointing very conservative justices, whatever happens in the federal government, the law as it exists in Illinois will stay, and that women have a fundamental right to access reproductive health care without intrusion from government. So it's a good thing. It preserves access to reproductive health care, the Reproductive Health Care Act. Number 4, $15 an hour minimum wage. Now this is a path to $15 an hour minimum wage. Yesterday, the minimum wage went from $8.25 to $9.25, and it will step up over a series of years until we eventually reach a $15 an hour minimum wage. When we started on this, there were maybe 2 other states that were interested in it, and I believe there are as many as, I might be wrong here, but it's in the teens. I think it was 14 is the number that rings in my head, although I can be wrong, that are on the way to moving towards increasing their minimum wage. This is something that's needed. I'm a big believer in you take people that are at the bottom and at the middle and you put more money in their pockets, they will spend it and drive the economy. So hopefully that happens with this increase in the minimum wage. Number 3, a $45 billion capital plan. This is fantastic. This is taking money and reinvesting it into the investment into and the maintenance of our infrastructure. It is so important. One of the most irresponsible things that a government can do is let its roads, its bridges, and its infrastructure, schools and public buildings fall into disrepair, because it's the worst kind of debt you can have, because the cost of delaying maintenance on infrastructure is exponential. So it costs you way more down the line than if you just fix it today. Well, we've been delaying it for a long time because of our financial problems. We were able to come up with a bipartisan capital plan that invests $45 billion into our infrastructure, will create It will create hundreds of thousands of jobs in Illinois, put people to work, and improve our infrastructure, which is so important to a state that relies on infrastructure. Where we are situated geographically, we are a hub for transportation, whether it's roads, bridges, waterways, airports, trains, and we need to keep that infrastructure running. It's a big part, a big driver in our economy. So, great thing to get that one done, and look forward to seeing that money being invested in Illinois. Number two, a balanced budget. Yeah, I know it's not typically a law, although it is passed as a law. It's passed by the legislature and signed. It's not a change, but it is kind of a change because it is the first balanced budget, truly balanced, we've had in decades. No gimmicks, no nonsense, um, but a balanced budget. But it's not just a balanced budget. It's a balanced budget that invests our full commitment to education and more. It increases funding for early childhood development and intervention programs. It pays down our debts, not just what we were scheduled to pay down, but even more towards paying down our backlog of bills, helping to improve the financial condition of Illinois. It actually had business incentives. Imagine that, 4 years of Governor Rauner, they couldn't get anything done. But we actually put in business incentives. Why? Because, yes, this budget, and if you're looking for hope for the future of Illinois, there is no better sign for hope for Illinois. We passed this budget in a bipartisan fashion. Republicans and Democrats sat at the table and worked together on the nuts and bolts of the operation of government. Yes, we're all going to come with our own set of interests and what we want to accomplish, but we should be able to sit down and work it out. And we did this year, and that's a great sign for Illinois. That's number two. Number one, and an initiative that I personally carried. It's something I've worked on for a number of years. I think that this is the most important thing that changed. Now, it's not a law, so let's be fair. It's not a law that you have to deal with. But it was a resolution that we passed to put a constitutional question on the ballot. It's called the fair tax. And what it says is, if we pass this in November of 2020, that Illinois will no longer be restricted to a flat tax. So under our current system, we have a tax where if you make $20,000 a year, you pay a flat 5%. If you make $20 million a year, you pay a flat 5%. 37 states and the federal government have graduated rates that say the less you make, the lower your rate, the more you make, the higher your rate. And Illinois has financial problems. We need to solve those financial problems, and we needed to do it in a way that gives the middle tax and the working class and the poor a little bit of relief. If you want to talk to me about people leaving the state, that's who's leaving the state. The people that are leaving the state are the people that are being crushed by an unfair tax system. And what the fair tax says is that if you make $250,000 a year or less, $250,000, $250,000 a year or less, you will pay a lower tax rate. If you make more than $250,000 a year, you will pay a higher tax rate. How high? From 4.95 up to 7.75, 7.85, 7.95, excuse me, for people making $1 million a year or more. So we're asking those people to pay slightly more, that's 3% more than they're currently paying with the 4.95, while giving all of the people who've been overburdened with unfair taxes a little bit of relief. It allows us to continue to stabilize our government, pay down our debts, and invest in the things we care about, like education and higher education, DCFS, caring for children in terrible situations, programs for seniors, disabled, and veterans. So paying for the core service of our government without accumulating more debts and putting Illinois back on a stable path. It'll be on the ballot in November of 2020, and that is my most important initiative of 2020. And I think that if it passes, it will be the most important thing that we do because it will really put Illinois on the right path. So that's it. Those are the 2020 top 10 new laws. But as I mentioned, it was a big year. There was a lot of other accomplishments. And so let's run through them quickly, and you can see some of the things that we did. Number one, or the first bullet point on this list here, is student data privacy. This is something I worked on with Raise Your Hand, which is a parent advocacy group, parents and teachers advocating for students. This seeks to provide parents, actually what it does is it provides parents with transparency about what data is being collected from your students, your children, how it's being used, and what you can do to delete it or correct it if necessary. It also gives you notice if a school has a data breach and your children's data is compromised. Very important in this new world where everything on computers is about data. Number two, we expanded access to college by not only investing in colleges for the first time in 10 years, but expanding access to college education by expanding scholarships. 7,000 more kids will be getting scholarships in the state and for in-state tuition, and they'll be getting a higher dollar amount. Um, so it's a great thing. The third bullet point, we have our biggest ever investment into early childhood education and intervention. Again, great things. We see great results from this. Everyone, Democrats and Republicans, agree this is great money. You put $1 in, you get $17 out on the backside. It's an investment that pays dividends, and that's smart use of your tax dollars. We raised the minimum wage for teachers. Not a big issue here up in the Northwest Side where teachers make a decent salary, but it was surprising how many teachers in downstate and rural Illinois were making $25,000 a year. So we put in a floor, $40,000 a year minimum salary for teachers. Um, it's a good thing, protecting our professional educators that are responsible for educating the next generation. We made bipartisan reforms to eliminate our Medicaid backlog. That's always a good thing. Again, when we're eliminating getting through that Medicaid, that means the people that need critical care can get it, and less debt because we pay interest on that debt. So when we eliminate that backlog, we're being responsible with your money. We increase funding for nursing homes and in-home care for senior citizens, providing a better quality of care for our seniors who need care in their waning years. We joined the U.S. Climate Alliance to reduce our carbon footprint. Never mind what the federal government's going to do with the Paris Accord. We're all in Illinois. We're going to do our part to reduce our carbon footprint. And finally, we fully funded the Chicago Veterans Home. Construction is nearing completion, and within months, that Veterans Home will open in this calendar year and begin caring for veterans in that home, especially those who are dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's disease. So that's it. It was a great year. We historic year in terms of the amount of legislation that we passed, the initiatives that we undertook, the laws that we passed, and really the major accomplishments. Many of these things on this list of other accomplishments would be something that we did just in 1 year would be a great year, but to add those as sort of icing on the cake really shows you what a great year it was been. So that's it for now. Stay tuned. I'll be back in the future to give you updates on what's going on. We'll do another one to talk about effects of some of the different changes in the taxes that have come up, and we'll be keeping you informed of major initiatives in Springfield. So Happy New Year to you and your family, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.